Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're your shortcut to, well, getting informed.
Glad to be diving in.
Today, we're tackling a concept that honestly is everywhere, the attention economy.
It really is hard to escape.
And to really get our heads around it, we're looking at it through a pretty provocative film, Sick of Myself.
Oh, yeah, that one definitely makes you think.
Right. So our mission today is to unpack how this film isn't just, one character's story. It's like a mirror.
A pretty stark mirror.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Showing us the dynamics maybe playing out in our own lives with all this media saturation. And we're drawing on insights from an analysis called The Attention Economy and Social Pathology in Film. It blends academic ideas with some sharp film criticism.
Yeah, it's a great piece. And what's really striking about Sick of Myself, like you said, is it avoids that sort of classic vain narcissist trope. Instead, it frames this intense self-obsession or maybe the desperate need for validation as a direct result of the attention economy. It feels very current.
That cuts right to it, doesn't it? The attention economy itself. It feels so tied to digital life.
Completely.
But the core idea, it actually goes way back, right? Before the internet. Where did it start?
It did, yeah. It started academically way back in 1971. Herbert A. Simon.
A Nobel Prize winner?
That's the one. Economist, cognitive psychologist. And he had this foundational idea in a paper, designing organizations for an information-rich world. He basically said, a wealth of information creates a poverty of attention.
Wow.
And crucially, attention becomes a resource to be managed.
Okay, a wealth of information creates a poverty of attention. In 1971, that feels like, that's exactly the struggle today, isn't it? Decades before Twitter, before TikTok.
Absolutely. He saw it coming, in a way.
So it's not just about managing information, it's realizing our attention is the valuable thing, the thing being
Maybe exploited.
That's the core of it. Simon saw that even then, with just TV, radio, print, that the problem wasn't finding info, it was deciding what to actually focus on. Our brains can only handle so much, right? Finite capacity.
Exactly. So where we direct that focus, that becomes the key decision, the valuable resource.
Okay, so this incredibly sharp idea starts out academically. How did it transform? How did it become this, multi-billion-dollar engine driving so much online? What were the steps?
Well, the 70s, like I said, purely theoretical. Simon was thinking organizational info management.
Right.
But then the 90s hit. Digitalization starts ramping up fast.
Okay.
And advertisers, media companies, they start to really clock that human attention spans aren't just, something you hope for. They're a commodity.
So that's the shift. Monetization enters the picture.
That's the key moment, yeah. It wasn't just eyeballs anymore. It was about time spent. And then Michael Goldhaber, in 97, he adapted it brilliantly for the internet age.
What did he say?
He put it really plainly. It's no longer information that's scarce, but attention. That just laid the groundwork for everything that followed.
And then, I guess, the social media explosion happened.
Exactly. The 2000s onward. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, eventually Instagram, TikTok. These platforms weren't just passive spaces.
No, they're designed.
They were explicitly designed with algorithms engineered to maximize your screen time, using all those psychological tricks, likes, notifications, endless scrolling, recommended stuff,
Keeping you hooked.
to capture and hold your attention. That became the business model.
It's almost dizzying thinking how that one academic insight ballooned into, this.
It really is.
So from Simon's theory to Goldhaber's internet focus, right up to Google, Meta, TikTok building empires on it, the economy part is undeniable now.
Yeah, what's fascinating, like you said, is the attention economy isn't just some dusty academic idea anymore. It's the absolute core of a multi-billion-dollar industry. It shapes so much of our digital experience, how our time gets carved up.
Okay, that makes total sense. So understanding that foundation, how do film critics take this real-world economic concept and apply it to analyzing films, to characters? Like, how does it change how we understand why a character does something? Does that classic question, what does this person want, get reframed?
It totally gets reframed. Yeah. The question becomes less what do they want and more whose attention are they after and how are they trying to get it. Critics use this lens to dissect how characters seek attention, how they try to keep it, and ultimately how they try to convert that attention into some kind of power or capital.
Interesting.
And they apply it on like 3 main levels in criticism.
Yeah.
Sick of Myself is a perfect case study for this.
Okay, can you walk us through those levels? How does that work?
Sure. Think of it like layers. First, they look at the big picture, thematic analysis, what themes around attention is the film exploring overall.
Okay.
So in Sick of Myself, you see Scene deliberately harming herself,
Right.
risking her health purely for attention. That's a major theme.
Right, the extreme lengths.
Exactly. Then they zoom in on character analysis, the characters themselves. How does Sine's quest for attention drive her specific actions, her dramatic stories, her craving for media visibility? It's not just presented as some personal flaw.
It's positioned as something else.
Yeah, as potentially a product of cultural signals, of what gets rewarded. And then, this is really fascinating, they even look at the cinematographic interpretation.
How the film is actually made.
Exactly. How it's shot, the pacing, the visuals, even the really grotesque makeup Sine wears. The film itself feels like it's constantly trying to grab your gaze, almost like a piece of social media content.
Wow, so it mirrors the very thing it's critiquing.
Precisely. It reflects the dynamics it's dissecting.
That's brilliant. It shows how deep this concept runs, from the core story right down to the filmmaking style. So what are the big payoffs? What are the advantages of using this framework to look at a film? This is where it gets really interesting.
Well, the advantages are pretty significant, especially for a film like this one, which feels so now. Firstly, it gives it contemporary context. It helps us see the film not just as a personal drama, but as a direct reflection of 21st century media culture. It speaks to our time.
Makes sense.
Secondly, it offers a kind of social diagnosis. It frames the character's extreme behavior, her deviance, as potentially stemming from broader social structures, not just some isolated individual issue.
Okay.
And thirdly, I think this is key, it encourages an interactive reading. It pushes you, the viewer, to ask that uncomfortable question. Is this film just about Sine? Or are we all, playing the same game to some extent?
That interactive part, that idea that we're all implicated, that's definitely confronting.
It is.
But when we look at Sine's actions in the film, I mean, deliberately making herself sick is extreme. Is the film really suggesting anyone could be pushed that far by this economy, or is there still a level of individual pathology there?
That's a really important point. And the framework doesn't necessarily erase individual psychology. Sine clearly has vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
But the attention economy perspective interprets her extreme actions, the self-induced illness, not just as a bizarre personal choice, but as potentially a logical outcome within a system that rewards hypervisibility, however it's achieved.
A logical outcome. Wow.
Yeah. Her narcissism, viewed this way, is less about self-love, more about this constant, desperate need for external validation, proof she exists through others' attention.
And she uses tools we all recognize.
Exactly. Instagram posts, crafting dramatic narratives about her illness, exaggerating stories. These are the tools readily available. And the director makes point of showing her methods becoming more and more grotesque.
To make us uncomfortable.
Precisely. To make the audience confront the societal implications, not just write her off as uniquely disturbed.
Okay, so peeling back that onion then, what does this tell us about her motivations? It sounds like a mix of personal stuff twisted by the social landscape.
It's definitely layers. On a personal level, you see clear insecurities.
Yeah.
Right, that deep need for approval. Feeling overshadowed by her boyfriend Thomas and his art world success. But the film is brilliant at showing how those personal drives get warped and amplified by the environment, by the sort of oxygen of our online world.
How so?
Well, you see how social media culture can rapidly reward stories of pain, of drama, of being different. There's this almost competitive visibility.
Yeah.
Where your value seems tied more to the story you can tell than maybe what you actually do or produce. And this leads to that really chilling concept mentioned in the analysis, pain capital.
Pain capital. Can you explain that a bit more?
It's the idea, basically, of turning your trauma, your illness, your struggles into a kind of currency, a commodity you can trade for social status, attention, validation.
That's incredibly stark.
Yeah.
But is there a danger here? Could the film or this analysis be seen as letting Sine off the hook, blaming society entirely?
That's the tightrope it walks.
Right. Or is she really just a symptom? Where does the film land on that? Character study versus social critique.
It really masterfully weaves them. I mean, on the surface, it looks like a character portrait. You see her jealousy, her lies, her manipulations up close. It feels intimate.
It does.
But that personal story is always held up as a mirror to the wider system. The director very clearly presents Sine as a product of our times, of what some call victim culture, of the pressure for self-branding.
So it never lets you forget the context.
Never. The film constantly reinforces the idea. Look closely, this isn't just sign. This is the culture we're swimming in.
Okay, so that leads directly to how the film reflects this pervasive visibility culture we hear so much about. What specific elements does it hold up that might feel familiar?
Oh, several really potent ones. First, that obsession with marketing your own story. The film skewers how people package their lives, even their pain, their illnesses, as if it's brand value for social media.
Yeah, that feels very real.
Second, it taps into the, frankly, terrifying irrelevance of truth sometimes. In science world, it almost doesn't matter if something actually happened. What matters is, does the story get attention? Does it land?
Which mirrors that fear of being instantly forgotten online, right? The algorithm churn.
Exactly. That constant pressure to stay relevant, to stay visible. Third, you see this profound empathy fatigue. The film suggests that when pain becomes a commodity, real empathy gets flattened. People might engage just enough to leave a like or a quick comment, but the connection is shallow.
A performance of empathy, almost.
Perhaps. And finally, it points to the cultural encouragement, that deep hypocrisy, where society might publicly condemn attention-seeking, but simultaneously rewards it intensely. Sign's lies are, in a way, born from that contradiction.
So this isn't just Sign's story. It feels like the film is making some pretty universal critiques about social media's impact, about our culture right now. What are those core criticisms?
It definitely goes broader, and it's quite damning. There are three main universal critiques, I think. First, the sheer exploitation inherent in the attention economy, how platforms, through their algorithms, constantly push people towards more extreme, more sensational content just to stay afloat.
Right.
Signing, making herself physically ill, becomes this grotesque but maybe disturbingly logical endpoint of that race for competitive visibility.
A cautionary tale taken to the extreme.
Exactly. Second, it's a harsh critique of the commodification of pain, how trauma, illness, vulnerability get transformed into social capital. The speed at which victim stories can go viral often makes the actual truth irrelevant. It's the emotional impact, the narrative that grabs attention that matters. And third, and maybe most profoundly, it critiques how identity itself risks becoming content. Sign turns everything, even private moments, into performance for an audience, which points to that wider issue. Are people focusing more on how they appear to others than on who they actually are?
That's heavy. So, given all that, when you stand back from the film and the analysis, where does the emphasis ultimately fall? Is it more about Sign's individual pathology or the social pathology that created her? Is she the problem or is society?
It's a balance, for sure. The film absolutely shows us Signis's individual issues, the narcissism, the manipulation, the lack of empathy. She fits that attention-seeker type in many ways.
Right.
But I would argue the main focus, the stronger critique, lands firmly on social pathology. The director is careful not to present her behavior in a vacuum.
It's always contextualized.
Always. It's shown as being fed constantly by the social media ecosystem, by the media's hunger for drama, by the reward systems embedded in popular culture. Her downward spiral, her becoming ill, is framed as a result of society's own hypocritical structure, condemning this behavior while also creating the conditions for it.
So the final verdict is?
I think for this reason, the film ultimately positions Sign as a symptom. And maybe modern culture, or at least this aspect of it, as the real disease.
Wow. That's, yeah, a really chilling and powerful way to frame it. This whole deep dive looking through the attention economy lens, it just illuminates so much about visibility culture, doesn't it? And how films like Sick of Myself can be such potent, unsettling mirrors.
They really can. And it leaves you with a pretty important question, doesn't it, for you, the listener? How much are you participating in this attention economy? Maybe in ways you don't even consciously recognize, beyond just scrolling social media.
Right.
And what are those subtle ways you might be, perhaps unintentionally, commodifying parts of your own life for validation, for visibility? Something to think about.